All right, fundraisers, nice to see you. My name is Mallory Erickson. I am an executive coach and fundraising consultant and the creator of the Power Partners formula. And today we are going to be talking about how to raise more in less time. Okay. So number one of the biggest problems that I see with nonprofit organizations and fundraisers is that they are doing way too many things to fundraise. And they believe that they have to do all of those things in order to fundraise enough for their organization. And I want to clarify for a second that this is not about not having diversified funds, right? But one of the number one things that people want are creative new fundraising ideas, right? I see it. I'm in tons of little free fundraising groups on Facebook. I'm constantly seeing people post questions about new little fundraising ideas, events, campaigns here and there. No. This is not a way to have sustainable, reliable revenue for your nonprofit organization, and it is a complete waste of time. Okay. We know this. There's tons of studies done on this idea of context switching. Okay. Context switching is essentially the amount of brain calories we burn when we're switching from one type of activity to another one. Right? So if our brain is deep in a grant that we're writing, and then all of a sudden we leave to go work on a sponsorship packet for our event, that took so many brain calories in order to make that switch, right? We are losing power, we are losing momentum, and we're not optimizing our creative thinking, our productivity, any of those things. And this is the name of the game for so many fundraisers, right? In fact, I don't know that I've ever seen them focus more unless you're a big enough organization that you have just events people, or you have a big enough organization where you have just major gifts. But if you are an executive director or a development director who's wearing all the hats in your small or mid-sized organization, then you need to identify what I call one bridge at a time. And you need to focus on that in a way that's going to increase your productivity. And that is how you are going to be able to raise more money in less time. So what do I mean by one bridge? So inside my program, and if you come to my free webinar, which you can just go to malloryerickson.com/free, I talk about the idea that folks need to identify the right type of offer for the right type of funder and match those appropriately. I go through in the webinar more details about asset mapping, and maybe I'll add that to YouTube as well. But what I want you to understand is, so once you've identified, right, the right type of funder to be reaching out to with the right offering, then I want you to bucket your time based on that type of outreach. So let me give you an example. Let's say you identified that your 7th grade math program was a really good fit for corporate sponsorship, and you would have gone through a whole process to do that. Then I want you to really narrow in there. I want you to prospect around that specifically. I want you to create the engagement and outreach tools. And I want you to block off 3 hours on Tuesdays every week to do outreach or have meetings with that specific type of funder for that specific program. Why is this important? Why is it important that you're bucketing your time in this way? Because then all of your brain power in those 3 hours is thinking and solving the same problem, right? So even if you're writing one engagement email and then you jump on a quick call with somebody who falls into that category, or even honestly, if you're working on a sponsorship list related to that program, it's all the same type of thinking. Your brain is immersed in solving for the same problem, the same challenge, right? So this is what I mean by one bridge. People always say to me, well, Mallory, we cannot just fundraise for one program from one type of funder at the same time. Okay, fine. Some small organizations actually can do that. And if you can give a few weeks at a time, really focused on one program, and you can figure out how to calendar your activities throughout the year so that for these 3 months, you're focused on this program, for these 3 months, you're focused on this program, and you actually build materials and campaign and everything around that, awesome. For those of you that it doesn't work for like that, no problem. I still want you bucketing your time within each day so that you're not context switching all over the place. If you are doing events, campaigns, multiple events, right? You're doing a walk and you're also doing a gala, and then maybe you're doing some, scripts type program. It's too much, and it's going to constantly make you feel like you are in that hamster hustle wheel. And so if you are wondering, okay, I want to figure out what to say no to, I want to figure out where I'm not getting the right ROI, then I really want you to come to my free webinar so I can talk through these 3 myths that you need busted right away, I'm sure. And I'll walk you through asset mapping. I'll help you figure out how you identify that very first bridge, right? The low-hanging fruit. That's the question I've always gotten asked the most. Mallory, what's our organization's low-hanging fruit? And the way to identify that is through my process of asset mapping, which is right on that free webinar. But I hope just in hearing some of these concepts around, you are doing way too many things. You really do need to focus work, right? You need to pick one bridge at a time, even if that's for the day, right? You need to be able to focus on that during that time block. You need to block that time off on the calendar. And then I'll add one more little hack in here. Give yourself more time in that time block than you think you need. When our brains get stressed that we don't have enough time to complete a task that, we gave ourselves an hour, and we sit down and we're like, oh my gosh, but this might take me 2 hours. We are immediately sabotaging ourselves. So when you give yourself an abundance of time, it actually often goes a lot faster, but you need to make sure to truly block that off on your calendar and give your mind the space, your brain the space to relax, right? There's no point in overdoing the brain calorie burn, okay? Not the goal, not the goal. The goal is for you to have more sustainable, more reliable, more relaxed fundraising. I know that's gonna feel uncomfortable at first, but it is a way. It is the way to fundraise in a more sustainable, holistic, and supportive way. All right, I'll drop some links below so you can find out where to find more free information. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Have a great one.